We'll be discussing a few essential equipments for any medical student when he or she starts his journey. In Indian history, Panchatantra is a very relevant word, and it actually means five. Pancha means five, and Tantra means technique or strategies. So, this concept of Panchatantra is often utilized to teach students about five basic things that they should have as a medical student during the start of their journey as a medical student and for the rest of their lives. So I'll be telling you briefly about these five instruments which form the basic components of the Panchatantra. The first one, as we are all aware, is a stethoscope. A stethoscope is used to hear sounds from the human body. So most commonly the heart, where we hear sounds, the heartbeat, murmur, any abnormal sound of the heart. Then we hear the lungs, the airway, the air going in and out, whether it's adequate or not. We also use the stethoscope to hear sounds of the intestine and also abnormal sounds in the stomach. And we also use it to hear abnormal sounds of vessels and arteriovenous malformations, maybe in the eyes, over the orbit, etc. An ideal stethoscope should have an adjustable diaphragm which can actually adjust the tone of the sound which comes in, a good quality hollow rubber tube, and nice soft earbuds which can occlude the sound from the external sources. Second is what is known as a reflex hammer. A reflex hammer is a very important tool and which is used to evaluate the neurological system in the human body, both the central and the peripheral. An ideal reflex hammer should have a sort of thermoplastic rubber shaped head which is conical. This is the classical one. And if you can see, the back of the reflex hammer also has a sharp edge, pointy edge, which is used to test the plantar reflex and also test pinprick sensations. And there is another component of the reflex hammer, which is, if I can show you, it's a small brush which is also used to test the sensations on a patient. So it is quite an important instrument for looking into the nervous system, both the central and the peripheral. The third and very important instrument is a torchlight, and this ideally should be a pen torch which you can easily carry around with you. The light which comes out should be adequate even in daylight so that we can see the mouth of the patient, that's inside the mouth, the oral cavities, the nasal cavities, and very importantly the pupils, the pupillary reaction. So this should always be in the aprons of the students and they should carry them around all the time. The fourth part of the Panchatantra is a measuring tape. Yes, it looks quite interesting to have a measuring tape. The measuring tape in anatomy helps in identifying and measuring different landmarks in, say, maybe in the skull. In physiology, it's often used to measure different the girth of the abdomen, etc. Very interestingly, even in the surgical theatre, this measuring tape comes very handy. For example, for neurosurgeons, when they are calculating shunt areas, so they would measure the points on the skull from certain fixed points, like Fraser's point, Keen's point, Dandy's point. Even in plastic surgery, in general surgery, so many areas where you need to measure certain distances, a measuring tape always comes handy. In the clinics, measuring tape comes handy to measure the girths of the arms for checking, say, median arm circumference for nutrition, then girth of a dilated limb, the size of it, etc. So a very versatile instrument for everyone. And last but not the least is this very nice instrument called a tuning fork. So usually we have three medical tuning forks which come in different types. One is a 128, 512 and 256 Hertz. These are all in Hertz. This is a small one, is most likely it's a 512 Hertz the tuning fork. This is used to not only examine the hearing of a patient to see if the patient has conductive or sensory neural deafness, but also to check proprioception, that is vibration sense of the patient, which is part of the central nervous system. So with these five tantras, the Panchatantra, a medical student should start his journey and should keep these 5 with him all the time. This will help. These will come in immense help for the rest of their career and their lives.